Hello, all my brave visionaries out there. This is my first video. I want to give a shout out to Infinite Waters and Ralph Smart, Aaron Doughty, I think I pronounced your last name right, Metaphysical Mike. All three of these channels, if you have not checked out, you should check them out. They are what inspired me to make this first video of many. It has been on my mind to speak out for a while, and been, let's say, scared to. But we can't live in fear, right? False evidence appearing real, it's what holds you back in this world. You've got to live in love. And today I was actually watching Ralph Smart. He's fantastic. Way to go. Big shout out to you. And he kind of pushed me towards it. You know, you can't be silenced. You've got to speak out. A lot of things I cover, will probably be covered by them too, because they are my inspiration. And it's just another person on a different platform to speak out and raise the vibration of this world's consciousness. I do believe that we need to go into a higher vibration, and that many people are saying, and I agree with them, that this COVID-19 is it's definitely a world changer. It has affected the entire world. It has been a long time since we have seen something that has affected something on a global status. A lot of people have talked about the Spanish flu with this, but nobody was really, nobody here now really can relate to that because we weren't around for it. A lot of, riots are happening and peaceful protest, which I think should be happening. A lot of talk about the inequalities of the world are coming up, and I think it is due to the fact that people can finally focus on what's important. They have been quarantined. It has, COVID has shut us down to where we could stop and think about what's important in our lives, and we can see, we can see things more clearly because of this pause in our lives. A lot of good is going to come from this. It's that what I kind of recall. I don't recall it. I wasn't alive then. But what I see vague impressions of is, when it was the war for the Nazis, and it was on a global scale, and our world had to decide, who we are and who we aren't, who we are not. And a lot of what defines us isn't just who we are, it is a lot of who we are not. And in that war, we had to choose. Are we, a group that will just sit aside and watch, these sort of hellacious things happening? Or are we a world that is going to say no? And, country upon country decided and decided and decided. We are a world that is going to say no to this. Now, this whole phenomenon about race is something that has been so culturally ingrained in us from the takeover of Turtle Island, which is now known as, the Americas, North America. And, it's something that I myself care a lot about, because, that is where this whole race thing started. There is only one race. It is the human race. Anthropologists have finally started making a statement about that, which I looked up. You can look it up too on their official webpage. They have documented where it came from. There was Johann Bloomberg in the 1800s, 1795, that kind of started, was one of the first people that started this, idea. There were a few others as well. A lot of it was propaganda for the colonists that came over from Europe, and they were, imbuing this thought of certain races being, better than others. I'll read it. I am reading them. I got notes because, different people have different brains. But race became a classification, statement on race that grew. I'm kind of paraphrasing because it's a big, pretty big site, pretty big page about it. That grew an ideology of inequality devised to rationalize European attitudes and treatment, and that was towards the Native Americans, that there was a huge genocide on. My family's tribe, from my dad's side, was included. That was among a lot of others that were wiped out. There's, it's nothing like it was. It never will be. Kind of like this COVID. It's not going to be the same after this. It's not. But race thus evolved as a worldview that distorts our ideas about human differences and group behavior. And that they assigned, more positive attributes to European, Caucasian, and lower, more savage to Native Americans and the African-born, the African enslaved, the African descendants that are now in America. And so that kind of grew that ideology, and we were programmed. Americans especially, because we lived through it. I am an educator, and I'm actually a librarian. And when I had my classes and they came in, I wanted to kind of give them another take on what history was, because I understood that what we are teaching in schools right now is an ideology that came from the winners of who settled this, this land. They say the history books are written by, the winners of the war. And so those are the history books that we're reading. We're reading the European side of it. That's what we're teaching in schools. And we're teaching, this ideology of race. When you fill out, it bothers me still when I have to fill out some form and it asks me about my race. It ticks me off because, I'm human. Check. Can I fill that in other? When there's a little other, that's what I check. Human. Because it's a made-up thing to separate us and to keep us separated and to keep us distracted about what is the problem. A problem is that ideology, that programming that has been programmed into us. That is the problem. The problem is part of the education, which we get from our government. It is a government-based education system. And, we do the best we can. And I am an educator myself. But some things have to change. And it has been a very painstaking, slow process. We have cultures. Culture is the real thing. And racism is definitely real. Racism is a real thing because it stems from that ideology that was programmed into our brains. Race itself is a made-up thing that separates us. And, until we can unprogram, reprogram that in our brains, which is it's a huge phenomenal task, that really won't go away. Racism is what keeps us apart. It's that idea that some are better than others, which is ridiculous. We are all humans. We all have the same basic needs. We all have, what's in our Bill of Rights, that we have, our God-given inalienable rights of life, liberty, which is freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. We all deserve to pursue our dreams and to be happy. So that racism is that sickness, and there is a lot of that in the world. COVID. I agree with some that say this quarantine, this lockdown, is similar, and it really is. I see it to when you are sick, not just like from any sort of physical illness, but from drugs that are really debilitating to you, that are quite toxic to your body. What do you have to do with that? You have to take it away, and you quarantine yourself so that you are away and you detox. And that is what this COVID is initially doing. We are separating ourselves from all of this. People are getting out in nature because, that's what they have to do. And they're realizing, their eyes are opening up. And taking this from Ralph Smart. He's so smart. 2020 is about 2020 vision. Our eyes need to open up at what's really going on in the world, and not standing for it. Choosing to be better. Choosing to make our world better, because this world, a lot of it did come from just, standing by, shrugging the shoulders. It is what it is. What can I do, right? What I can do is I can make myself better. I can make my little world around me better. I can choose better. I can choose to teach my children better. And all of that, one of my most favorite quotes, that single grain of rice can tip the scales. One person can make the difference. There's a other story about the girl, with the going out with the, I think, starfish, jellyfish, whatever washes up on the shore, whatever that story wants to be. And, someone's watching her pick him up, throw him back into the ocean. Why do you keep doing that? That's not going to make a difference. You pick it up, throw it back, and she said, it did for that one. She's not going to let someone's jaded view of the world hinder her progress, her, ability to help that one. And it does make a difference. It does make a difference. Whether it be to one person or 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000, if you can simply do one thing, then you're making a difference. Some people are choosing to do, 7-day vegan challenge. I am slowly working to it. But I would say if you don't think you can do that, I started a challenge of my own, is to do, if you want to do 7 days, if you want to do 10 days, if you want to do 30 days, it's up to you. But a meditation challenge. And even if it's, just putting it on when you go to sleep, it, after those 30 days, it really does make a difference in, your outlook, your mental health, your physical health. I personally do not go to sleep without it anymore, because I feel better. I feel better mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of those levels. I feel better. And so I want to challenge you. Challenge you. 30 days, 7 days, take it as you will. I would definitely challenge you to 30, but it's however you want to try to take that one step. It's one step at a time, guys. And I personally am living in a place where I am very close to a lot of monuments coming down, and it's there are some people who are super angry about this. There are some people who are indifferent about this, and there are some that are happy. I am one of those happy people because I do feel that history should be in a museum. Some history is into a museum, some should be a monument. Monuments are for those things that the culture itself is proud of. Not something that we look back at and go, golly, what, why? That's not for a monument. That's for a history book. It's for a history museum. It's for a history lesson, because if we don't remember history, we are doomed to repeat it. But not to be on display as a monument of excellence. That's not excellent. Yeah, gonna start trying to do these things, and I see how it goes. Love you all. Live in love. And I guess we'll end it.